Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Better Opinion. I am your host, Kevin. I am joined by my co-host, Mansor.
Hello, Kevin. It's nice to record for the first time with you today.
Yeah, the first time we've ever recorded, actually.
Yeah.
We've never done, this is the first episode, of course.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
think I'm
lying.
coming in at a nice sepia. I desired this, really.
Yeah, nice, the cameras perfectly identical. Colors perfectly matched. Our conversation perfectly aligned. But I think you had a topic you wanted to talk about today.
I'm interested in Trump's dumps.
Trump's dumps. So you mean his
various acts on like
executive orders,
his like first
pardons,
month of doing
first days. Let's be accurate here. It hasn't been first months or month. It's this first couple days.
Yeah.
He immediately was just like, all right, my name is Xi Jinping Trump.
and I want to speed run this.
I want to speed run this shit. Yeah. Yeah. So go ahead. What are your thoughts?
I think it's interesting how he has pardoned people he's previously thought were pretty bad. From what I've heard, he said that these people shouldn't have done what they've done. The January 6th wasn't his idea.
Yeah, that's what he says, but he pardoned them all, But
Yeah.
that's sort of his MO, right?
I don't know. But
No, his MO is just to say shit. That's all he does. I don't actually even know what he believes in because, like, I'm pretty sure that if being progressive and believing in progressive politics would have gotten him elected and given him absolute power, he would have been the most progressive president in the world.
What he believes in is the people who suck him off, because he
That's
really
true.
likes
Based.
getting sucked off. He's getting sucked off
mean,
by
who doesn't?
Elon Musk constantly, so he loves
Is
it.
he not sucking off Elon Musk? I thought Elon Musk was the real president,
You know what? You're right.
the shadow president, except like in the forefront.
We all know Donald Trump really likes cock. He said it.
He said it. This is real. This is real.
I wish it
absolutely.
was actually a meme, but yes. In public, he has talked about a guy's dick and how amazing it is.
Listen, no, listen. Just listen. We are a reputable news network, okay? You can find us at www.realtruthnow.real, which is how you know it's good, and you can buy our $6,000 survival slop buckets.
Oh, it comes with a free Bible. It can
Which Bible? I don't know. We just got like a box of them. We bought them on surplus, and you'll get it.
It's made out of very thin paper. It gets destroyed very easily, but if you believe hard enough, it will survive any hardship.
Any hardship, yeah. When the bombs drop, put it on your head.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything will result
There's
from
no-
that. Legally, I can't say that will help you.
But religiously, if you believe in God, you should be fine. Really, if you die, you're a sinner. Really.
God, that's so bad. Oh, I love it. Okay. For the record, actually, have I ever asked you what your faith is?
I have gotten rid. I'm no longer faithful. I considered myself Muslim, but I didn't really feel like I would never felt like I believed in it fully. There was always
Okay.
because if I knew if I read anything that was against what I thought, I would not go with it, because
Okay.
I have my own inherent system of what I believe is right and wrong. I've come up with.
Wait. So hold on. Through analysis and life experience, you formed your own values.
Well, not even just that, just through reading history books. Like, I don't know if I told
Right.
you.
Well, that's what I mean. You formed your own values by collecting information.
I
coming
know,
to
I'm
conclusions.
insane.
Well, I've been argued with by people that you can only gain morals through religion, that there's no way to form your own morals. It's funny. Someone once asked me, this really happened. I was debating a friend of mine who insisted that morality, you can't form your own morality. Morality comes from like religious morals. And I said, well, no, I form my own morals. And he said to me, well, what's stopping you from murdering people? And I said, it's crazy. I'm murdering all the people I want to murder right now, which happens to be none.
Yeah, it's crazy too that people say that, because the reason why I was very skeptical of my own religion. I'm not saying that Islam is bad. I know many people who are decent who follow it very well. It's just that a lot of people who have I've seen that are, let's say, this strange word, terrorists.
It's a very, what is that word? I don't.
I
don't know.
Yeah, it's a unknown to many. Some people like maybe who have gone in January 6th maybe under this.
January 6th terrorists.
Yeah.
Interesting. This sounds very scientific. Could you go on?
Here's the thing. Many people who claim they're religious seem to have done a lot of violent things and things that are bad. And I thought to myself, I don't like this very much. It seems like religion is not really preventing these people from doing things that I consider bad.
Well, that's the funny thing about religion is that belief and faith are not necessarily part of religion. You can follow the religion while thinking while not believing in it or following its tenets, and you can believe in whatever sort of the like life lessons and spirituality and faith-based stuff of religion is while not participating in the religion at all. So none of these are a requirement for each other.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem that people don't realize is if people believe they have a right to do something, they will do it regardless of whether other people say it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
I think this is like related to like any time someone does anything evil, it's because they have in themselves like they believe they are entitled to do this thing.
Right.
Like a billionaire has the entitlement to decline claims because it is his right to do so.
And one member of the Mario Brothers has the right to punish him for it.
As a lot of people seem to think he has the right to do, honestly.
Yeah, they do. They believe it. It's interesting. So you talked about January 6th, right? And these people. That is what a lot of them did, right? A lot of them just they believed that a lot of these people actually believed in their heart of hearts that this was a true, like, tyrannical takeover, that actual corruption, crime, and they still say it. They still say they stole the election.
Oh, I don't doubt that they
truly believe
that.
it. But what's funny to me, this is what's crazy, and I've dealt with this with family, where I will say they broke in to the Capitol building and say, no, they didn't. They were let in by the cops. And I said, there's one picture after the cops were given the order to just drop it where you see that. But here's a video taken by the January 6 people. Okay, it is by the January 6 people, not by someone else, of them breaking windows and climbing through. What do you think of that? And then they go, no.
AI.
It's not real.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You had these people literally confess to doing it. They said, yes, I did that. And then everyone was like, wrong.
Well, in that case specifically, they were lying.
Right. They made
that's specific.
In that video of them breaking the window with the riot shield that they stole and climbing through the window, that was a lie.
And them admitting that
was just
they
a joke,
did it was
actually.
it was
just a joke.
The fact that it was like almost everyone who was there who was a victim was
they're playing a character.
Yeah. It was all a play, really. It was all a funny prank by Joseph Biden.
It was a funny prank. Yeah, Joe Biden just was being funny. It was actually the Democrats the whole time. Yeah. You read all about it back on www.therealtruth.truth.
Yeah,
Not real.
It's weird that this kind of has a nice mirror to the Civil War, though not quite as. It's crazy how more unhinged January 6th feels to what you read about the Civil War, and because a similar thing happened. A lot of let's flip the parties. The Democratic Party, who was for slaves, did not want Abraham Lincoln to be president.
Right.
It's like all of them voted. I forget who he was against.
I don't remember.
He was like,
the Civil
must
War
have not been important.
Who cared about that guy?
Yeah, must have not been important if I don't remember it. So they voted for the opposing party to Abraham Lincoln, and they felt since all of them voted, they were the American people, and they didn't get what they want. So obviously, the democratic system was not working. This feels like a very similar action. Is that, as you were saying, well, I don't remember if you said in this recording in terms of tribalism.
I haven't talked about tribalism yet. I've talked about tribalism in past recordings.
Let me.
I've talked about it in past episodes. I've talked about tribalism.
Let me lead you into it. It feels like these people and their tribe all voted for Donald Trump, and they didn't get what they wanted, and they felt like they were the true American people.
Right. Yeah.
And since they didn't get what they want, the democratic system did not work.
You run into this a lot, actually, because because now we're in 2025, right? And Trump is president again. And you see this socially, right? So you saw like there was that, what was it, a bishop, I guess? I don't know what the titles are at the DC cathedral, but she gave the most like milk toast, please be nice to the president. And all these people online like shit their pants, right? And I mean like literally, like not figurative, like their pants have poop in them. Really, for real? This is a real source. You can cite me as a what's it called? A academic source. I am an academic source. And what happened is this mild ask for him to please be kind has met with all these people who are insisting it's wrong. And then when people say that's not very Christian of you, you have all these people coming out of the woodwork saying, well, I've been Christian my whole life, and that's not what Christianity says. And I said, that's crazy, because I grew up surrounded by Christians. My best friends are practicing Catholics. Yeah. And I can tell you for a fact that all of the people in my life who are practicing Christians all agree that that was a very Christian thing to do, and that all of you are LARPing. And a friend of mine who's Christian sent me a thing the other day that was a post a friend of him sent, a message a friend of him sent him that said, there are two kinds of people. Lifelong Christians who would say you need to be kind, be good, and be the best part of the Bible, and people who recently converted who are like, dude, when's the next crusade? And that's what I think it is. I think these people are LARPing. They either never really believed, or they're just recent converts.
Well, they just like the name. They want the tag. They want the cross tag.
They want to wear they want the Pope hat. I mean, who doesn't? Really?
Because like, what do the people from the Crusades want? It's like, let's be honest. The Crusades does not feel like a very Christian thing to do.
No, not at all. Yeah. But this goes back to your point, bringing up past discussions on tribalism, right? What people do is they choose something, they choose one thing, and that's like their most important thing. And then a group or a tribe says, this is something that's very important to us. And then they go, great, I'm all in. Now, suddenly all of the values that tribe has are their values. Yeah. And even these things that they never really had a strong opinion of, or these things that aren't even really that extreme, but now that the tribe says it, that is like the ultimate thing. And so they will give everything to that tribe. And no matter how much evidence that tribe isn't even acting in their best interest, they will say, if I follow this tribe, then things will be good for me. And so they give everything. And then 10, 20, 30 years later, when their life is exactly the same or worse, they will look in the mirror and they'll say, other tribe did this. Yeah. And that's the problem, right? That is where we find ourselves now. Is it doesn't matter what evidence you show. It doesn't matter what's being said or done. And it doesn't matter if it even is in your best interest. People are so bought into their tribes, and there's no willingness to convert to another.
Because the brand is too good. The brand is too long lasting. The brand of Christianity or any religion.
Christianity, gender identity, social identity, state identity. In fact, I think the one thing is country identity is gone. I feel like I'm the only American. And when I say that, I don't mean like citizen. I mean like I have always been like a bit of a nationalist. I really love America, and I really believe in America and what it represents. And so like for me, my tribe, my ultimate tribe is Americans, which is why like when people ask me, how come you're so willing to sit down and talk with people who are vastly like on the opposite end from you? I said, well, we're both Americans. And at the end of the day, if they win, America wins, and that's good for me because I love America. Well, but nobody else is. Everyone's like anti-American. They all want to like suck Putin off.
I do also. Well, there are other people, of course. You don't mean like there's no other Americans, I think.
Well, no, I'm being like I am being hyperbolic in saying it feels like it is rare for me to meet someone who America is more important to them than their other individual, selfish. I don't even want to say selfish, but it's like their tribe, right? Whatever their tribe is.
Yeah, because it's weird. Because
not even just Trump or Christian. Choose a tribe, right?
It's weird because I feel like tribalism is, well, we've talked about this before. This tribalism is hurting most of the people who are part of it.
Yeah, it's not to their benefit.
And the idea of an American culture, a culture that kind of inherits everything, is one that I really like, and that is, I've said this before, really good in terms of this sci-fi fiction piece. I don't know if you've heard of it. You probably have no idea what I'm talking about. Star Trek?
Is that like a Star Wars?
Not quite. It was like a little different.
You ever run into that thing where people go Star Trek or Star Wars? They're like, oh, do you like Star Trek or Star Wars? And I'm like, I don't know. Would you rather have steak or ice cream for dinner?
It's like they're two different things.
And you might say, well, I love ice cream. I'd actually like to have ice cream for dinner. But like, that's not a comparison.
Yeah.
That's not a comparison. So Star Trek, yes.
I really like Star Trek because of one thing. The idea behind Star Trek is that everyone's kind of welcome to contribute to a greater goal, which is the enrichment of society. Not even just humans.
Right, sure.
Not even just humans, but even other races. There, in the original Star Trek, I don't know if you've ever seen this, there's this episode about Captain Kirk meeting this alien creature who is like, he vastly hates. It's like there's like deep hatred because they fought each other tooth and nail, and they're put to trial, the two captains of these two ships of completely different races.
Mm-hmm.
And Captain Kirk wants to kill this guy.
Mm-hmm.
They go fight to the death. And just as Kirk is about to bash his head and kill him, he remembers what he is about. He remembers that it is about the betterment of society, that through the past, we have worked through many, many different, like, weird engagements where we see people just for what we see, this visual representation of us, which is all, it's all made up.
Right, yeah, you're just deciding what things are similar and what things. Well, I mean, you run into that with race, right? Like, it wasn't even 100 years ago that Irish people weren't considered white, you know, or maybe it was 200. I don't remember how long. I'm losing track of time. But, you know, early Irish Americans were not considered white.
Yeah.
And even at one point, Italians weren't. We
forget how racism has changed in America. It's really strange going back. We used to hate the Irish people. We used to hate. Have we hated Danish people? I don't know. We've hated
the fishmen from H.P. Lovecraft's work was just an allegory for Italians.
We used to hate a specific type of Christian. I know there's like 3 different types of Christianity.
Depending on who you talk to, sometimes you can find more than that.
It was like,
you dig nice and deep, you can find some interesting ones.
There's like so many pieces of Christianity or something. And we hate one type of Christianity, and it's insane that we would have someone with that Christian faith in office, which is...
Yeah, it is interesting how, well, that's the tribalism, right? And that's why I think that, you know, everyone's going to have sub-factions, right? But it feels in the modern day, like when you look at modern politics, nobody wants to still just be an American at the end of the day, right? We're letting foreign governments that have and still are our enemies influence us, and then we like praise them and support them.
Have you ever seen like the weird what do you call it? These people who say, this country is so great, we're going to move there and do whatever the hell they do. And then they find when they move there and try to live there, people don't like them.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, why don't they accept us here? There's this weird, like, it's like this weird reverse of what they experience in America. It's like, I hate all these immigrants. I want to immigrate to like this other country. And then they'll
love me.
They'll love me and
a foreigner,
and they'll like everything I have to bring, because like I am the perfect citizen.
Yeah.
And then they find that, oh wait, why do all these people not like me?
It is a lot harder to immigrate almost anywhere than it is. Like, here's the thing, not mechanically. Immigrating into America mechanically is convoluted and poorly structured. Yeah. But socially, it is far easier to come to America and have your neighbors welcome you than it is in most other countries. Because most other countries are monoethnic, monoculture. Maybe they have a couple different cultures, right? But even then, like if you go to China, there's a million cultures and a million ethnicities. You'll mostly meet the Han Chinese and speak Mandarin if you immigrate there. I doubt you're immigrating to Mud Hut Village in the middle of nowhere, you know, and that's not like a joke. Like they actually have that, right?
Yeah.
They love to do cool things to those people, like open up giant waterways that flood a cliffside that they've all built their homes in. Cool China things.
Yeah.
You know.
But we love China. I don't remember. Do we love or hate them? I forget what Trump wants.
Whatever day of the week it is,
Yeah.
it changes. Did you know, I actually didn't know this until recently. There's an entire like ethnic group of like, I don't know what they are, of like an Asian descent, right? Probably closer related to Mongolians, but they're called the Tuvians or Tuvans in Russia. And they're an ethnic minority that is pretty poorly treated, but like they speak Russian. They have like horse. I think they're closely related to Mongols, and they're pretty poorly treated by the Russian government.
Well, not really.
Which is why a lot of them have started joining Ukraine.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's interesting.
Yeah, that's insane. That
I know.
people that hate Russia would join Ukraine because Ukraine was in the wrong, you know.
Oh, well, you know, I mean, haven't you heard? The Democrats liked them, so that makes them wrong. My tribe says that I am to think only one way. So, but
Which way, Western man?
which way, Western man? No, okay. So, bringing it back though, right? So Trump did all of these executive orders, all of these pardons,
Yeah.
right? We've talked a lot about tribalism. We talked
Yes,
a lot
yes.
we kind of got off the initial thesis here of what your thing was about. You know, he pardoned all of these people. He's given all these executive orders. What about that makes you angry?
I don't know if I'm angry. I'm just considering, should he be able to do this? And this is the same thing that I've thought last time Trump did similar things. It's like, should the president of the United States have the ability to do all this shit without like any...
You want to know what the problem is? So the president, a lot of our government, and we've seen in the past probably 10 years how this has changed. Our government is built on a lot of handshake agreements where it's like, we won't do this thing. So like, for example, all of these illegally appointed, and I don't care what you think in the comments, they were illegally appointed, it's total corruption, people put into the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court judges, totally corruptly appointed Supreme Court judges, they just started deciding to overturn past rulings, which is something the Supreme Court doesn't do. And they did it because they said this is decided case law, and then once they were in office said actually it's not, and got rid of a bunch of rulings. And that was something we didn't do that. We said, okay, this is case law now, this is the case. We move on, we wait for the next thing. And now all these Trump appointed people are breaking that handshake agreement. This is true with the president. There's a number of things presidents kind of like, it's like you have all this power and it is expected of you not to abuse it. And so there's nothing actually stopping you from abusing it because so long as you don't, we will never put the brakes on.
That's very interesting because I remember hearing stories of like not 50 years ago. Well, I don't know how long ago actually. When a Supreme Court judge had ruled on something that in which he had some like hands in, he actually impeached himself from the role.
Impeached, or did you say he excused himself?
He excused himself.
Okay.
That doesn't.
Recused, I guess. Is that word.
I don't know exactly what happened, but he took responsibility from it, and he like left in what felt like disgrace. It felt like he was facing consequences, but.
Well, integrity's gone, is what it is. Is that the government is built on handshake agreements that we're not going to abuse our position. And every once in a while, a president or a politician or someone does, and then a rule's made. And every time that happens, so that's why everyone's surprised. Everyone's surprised that all these things were never written into law. And it's like, it is surprising, but it was never necessary because everyone on both sides of the aisle were under the same agreement that there are lines we don't cross. And if we cross them, we only cross them a little bit, and then we step back. Right? You never push too far. But the Trump administration twice now has come in and said, I don't care about those rules. Right. And the problem is that there is a check and balance. I saw the dumbest thing someone said on Twitter the other day. They said that the Congress has no power over the executive. I said, that's wrong. You're just like, that's the opposite of truth. You're an idiot. I recommend like going outside, laying in traffic. It'll be to your best interest. And this person said this, and I'm like, that's not true. The very purpose of the legislative branch, the very purpose of Congress and the Senate is to oversee each other and the presidency. It is not president, Congress, Senate. It's three different groups within the executive.
I feel like I've heard of this before. Checks and one-sided. Checks and heavy one side.
Checks and break into the Capitol.
Yeah. Let's do it right now. Let's do it right now.
Everybody, we're leaving. We're going to break into the Capitol. Mike, warm up the car.
Let's go.
We're going. No, but this is my point, right? Is it used to be if you did something crazy like Richard Nixon did, Congress went, I don't think so, Tim. But we don't do that because right now the Senate
and
Congress,
that was even when he was voted in, by the way.
Right. And the Senate, Congress, the Supreme Court, they're all stacked in the Republicans' favor. And the Republicans have played this long game to Mitch McConnell's own horror. He did it to himself. You see it, like he realized his own mistake too late as he stacked the deck against him. And now all of these people who are almost like Chinese Communist Party insiders are all just, they don't give a shit about America. They're not true Americans. They only care about keeping their guy in power so they can enact their will against the majority.
I can't believe the evil guy who did evil things found out his actions caused something evil to happen.
I know. Well, only in time for him to stroke out and die.
Yeah.
So, that's where we're at now, is there's no one in power with enough power to hold him accountable for what is technically, there's no rule against it, but it's an abuse of a privilege. That's what it is, right? These are presidential privileges with the agreement you won't abuse it, and he's abusing it.
Let's go over some of what he did do. He apparently, from what I've learned, he didn't appeal the TikTok ban. He's delayed it.
Right.
He's delayed.
It was his own ban.
It was his own.
He started the process when he was the president last time.
But it's from his own words, it's fine. It's only children's data.
And we don't give a shit about children.
Who cares?
Unless they're not born yet. We will do everything in our power to make sure that child is born so that we can put it down on the ground and let it die.
In fact, your gender is considered the moment you are conceived.
Yes.
Which no one has gender.
The second that I come, my child his gender is decided.
Their gender neutral. The legal genders, male and female. Everyone is an illegal gender now. Everyone is illegal. Legally gender.
I am legally nothing. No, you know what's funny? People have made fun of this, and there are people who are like, that's not how it works. My zygote. And you ever think gender people who like get down to like the fucking zygotes and shit? And
they don't know what that means.
Yeah, they're like, well, it is a baby because DNA. Yes.
Well, why is it that you have no gender? Let's go into the very simple reason why. Because the specific text says, if you have an egg, you are a female. If you have a sperm, you are a male. Well, it doesn't even say it in those words. If you have a smaller sex thing, you are a male.
It's the fucking, what are they called? Chromosomes, right? XY.
Well, no, it doesn't talk about chromosomes.
Does it not?
No, it says if your organ at conception.
Oh, you're talking about the Trump thing.
Trump.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about like the literal definition.
No, the literal definition is very simple. It's like but I've forgotten it.
Well, XY chromosomes. It's XX or XY.
Okay, yeah, XX or XY, but
don't forget that there are women who have a uterus and have a vagina and look like a woman, but they have XY. And there are also men who are like, what is like XXX and like, there's all these different intersex things. Those don't count though. I don't listen. I avoided college for a reason. I don't want to be educated. I just want to make it up.
The weird thing is, I learned this in high school.
I know. I learned it in high school.
I learned
too.
this in high school. Everyone in class like heard it the same that I did. I know a lot of people didn't listen, but it's like I learned it there, so it wasn't like a new thing when I heard a transgender person exist, because I learned about it already years prior.
Yeah, there are people with intersexed people are very interesting because you can have men with like what's it called, like hyper gonadism or something like that. It's where they've got like extreme testosterone because they have like an extra chromosome, and you have XYY, yeah. So it's XYY, and then you have like women who are like XXX or XYX, or you have these things, they exist. You have people with like androgen insensitivity syndrome, so they have two testicles where their ovaries should be, but they look like women and have a uterus and have a vagina. Like, it's crazy, but then we want to pretend that that's the defining definition of what you are.
But the weird thing is,
that's not what the Trump thing says.
That's the Trump's thing says is like the moment of conception, if you have a small sex thing or a big sex thing, that determines whether you're a male or female. It's so poorly fucking worded, and because at conception,
I have a very big sex thing.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. And because at conception, that is probably like the
really huge sex thing.
Yeah. A lot of people really like sex too.
Really like it. They really do sex. I'm wanting more. Tell the world,
you would
stop
imagine,
the war.
When you are conceived, that the last thing that you are considering when born as a uterus is fucking
born as a uterus
or whatever. I know. Whenever the last thing you're thinking when you're conceiving and growing in the womb is fucking someone. So like that is not going to develop first.
Right.
So you don't have a gender according to the law.
Yeah. Well, it is the problem with all gender and sex stuff is that the reality is
it doesn't feel like it needs to be a problem. It
doesn't. And we talked about this before, right? People are so wrapped up in it, but here's the reality, right? Here's like the brass tacks reality. At the end of the day, right? We all know the truth. If you have a penis, that is a male appendage. If you have a vagina, that is a female appendage. Yeah. And we as a society can sit down and say, all right, well, these are sort of the gender roles and what we expect from those roles and what they look like. And if someone says, well, I want to behave and act as part of the opposing one, then it's sort of a handshake agreement. Remember handshake agreements? We just talked about this, that we all just say, okay, sure, right? Why not? Because it doesn't really matter, doesn't really affect me. It's not a big deal. And here's what happened. I realized what happened. I was talking about this actually with Michael in the car earlier. What happened with gender shit is that for a long time, and people are getting very mad when I say this because it goes against the brass tacks, right? The brass tacks is this is reality, and they don't like that. But here's what happened is that for the gays, what they said is they said, we want to be like you. We want to grow up and be able to get a job without discrimination, and we want to be able to date without discrimination, and we want to get married without discrimination, then we want to die unhappy like everyone else. And then everyone said, oh shit, I hate my wife. He wants to hate his husband. Why not?
Yeah,
like that's what happened.
That's such a strange thing to want. No one's ever who's been treated differently ever wanted to be treated like everyone else. I don't think that's ever really happened in America.
But that's what worked. It was a very hard argument, right? So it is really hard when, like, if you sit opposed to gay people, you have to try to argue the position. This is why it only works by tying religion into it, is because you have to argue the position that someone who just wants to be like you isn't allowed to just have that.
The religious argument.
It's a very hard argument.
Yeah, the religious argument is very real. It's the idea that's unnatural.
Right.
Which is strange because you cannot control it.
Well, their argument is that you can, that it's some sort of deviancy brought by the devil. But this is my point. My point is that you have to go to something where the evidence is faith to make the argument. Because if you remove all that and all you do is ask the question, does it matter? Well, they're not asking to change anything. They're asking to keep it the same. It's an easy argument. But here's my point. When it comes to like transgenderism and other gender identity stuff, they're not asking for everything to be the same. It would be a very hard argument if all it was, I'm a trans man, I just want to be treated like a man, I want to get married and have a household and work. I'm a trans woman, I want to get married and act like a woman and be a wife and get a house. And, people will say that's what they want. And there's a large number that do, but the loudest voices, they're like, gender is irrelevant. Abolish it all. Gender roles, abolish it all. And we could have a discussion about whether that's good or not. But the point is that it's a much harder sell.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about right or wrong or what's deserved. We're talking about the selling.
My frustration is that these topics kind of wave away topics that actually matter, like homelessness. Like,
oh, sure. Yeah.
Like inability to get a job, like horrible wages, people's living conditions, like
things that actually affect people's entire life.
I'm not saying that like gender thing does not affect welfare, but is not affect everyone's welfare, and it also feels like there's an easy solution to it.
Sure.
And my frustration with not only that, but with like Trump and all of his like what he's doing, because here's the thing, if I think you've said this as well, if all Trump did was things that were great for us and he still said all this stupid shit or whatever, he like increased the minimum wage, he made it so that its jobs are better to everyone, like it's like he made it so that it's easier to be happy in America. That is like I think something that I feel like eludes a lot of people and is a very simple quote I feel like should be the American goal, is that your ability to achieve happiness.
Sure, yeah, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness.
But it feels like Trump is doing not only this, he's made it so that you can't, for all government buildings, you can't have brutalist structures. You have to have Greco-Roman structures, which is another it's very important. I swear,
it's so important. Yeah, we need to spend money on this. This is what. No, I agree. That's sort of my point, right? This was my original point. Is you have this topic. That was my point about gender stuff, right? Is so you have this thing that is very simple. That's brass tacks. Your emotions aside, there's brass tacks. Does this have a strong effect on anything? Not really. It has a strong effect on a few individuals that deserve rights like everyone else.
Yeah.
But it's a few individuals. But it is the greatest topic of our time. It's always on the top. It's always everyone talking about what is a woman and gender shit, and both sides do it, right? Yeah. We've created this mountain out of this thing that's like not really just doesn't really like have any effect on our day to day, and that we ignore. People will vote. I feel like people would vote to be elected to enter a mulcher, like a people mulcher. Like, yes, my neighborhood should be put in the people mulcher if we ban transgenderism. I feel like that's what would happen. And that's because they've invested so much of their identity and their tribe's identity into hating or disagreeing with this thing.
Yeah, because it's crazy. Because when I went to vote, I voted. Of course, I voted for Trump.
Well, yeah, obviously. I mean, please don't send the CIA to my house, Mr. Trump.
When I went, and people hand out flyers. It's like, this is what the Democratic Party is for, and Republican Party is for. Which I'll be honest, I hate both of them for doing that.
Sure, yeah.
But the weird thing is that one thing the Republican Party member said was like, keep transgender guys outside of our sports or whatever. It's like, why is this a federal government thing?
Right.
Why does this feels like something the sport should do on its own?
The sport should make the decision. They should do the study and make their decision. This is what the National Lacrosse League did. They did a study, they came to a conclusion, and they acted on that. And then they said, and we're going to continue to study it to see if maybe we were wrong.
Because it's this ridiculous thing. We're fighting against old, stupid people who are just unhappy about the kids on their yard.
That's what it really feels like.
Who are like doing things they are uncomfortable with. And that they think did not happen 10 years ago, that they believe did not happen 10 years ago. Yeah. I will tell everyone a secret. Nothing has changed about people in the past 50 fucking years.
It hasn't.
Society has not changed. The only thing that has changed is the fucking environment. Nothing has fucking changed. If TikTok existed 50 years ago, your ass would be twerking in your backyard.
I'm twerking right now. You just can't see it.
Listen, every generation has done stupid shit. If you look back, it's like there's this was the crazy generation. Oh, this was the conservative generation because the previous generation was crazy. Oh shit, it's another crazy generation because the previous was. It's like, oh, these kids these days. It's never been like
always these kids these days. Yeah, you know what? People would say, well, nobody. Here's the big one. People will say, well, people are changing their bodies. They're getting surgery and taking hormones. I go, yeah, and they were getting piercings and getting tattoos and taking drugs. What do you think Woodstock was? Do you think that they were just do you think they were just hanging out and doing patty cake?
They were doing Christian hymns.
Yeah, no. I'll tell you what they were doing. They were doing every drug under the sun. They were permanently frying their nervous system with anything. They were like, is that a mushroom? Could kill me. Could get me high. Let's take it.
Yeah, both at the same time.
At the same time. They were doing everything. It is a complete cope to say that this is somehow different than it's been throughout history. People do stupid shit. They do all kinds of body modifications. They get into weird music and weird hobbies. They take chemicals.
And it's going to be like this in the future. In the future,
oh, yeah.
I'm sure in the future will be like these kids these days. Old man yelling at cloud. But here's the thing. It gets away from like things that actually need to fucking change. Things that have been problems even like 50 years ago. Yep. All this insurance, the insurance scam, because it is a scam.
It is a scam. Yeah, it is a scam. And it's always either or, right? So we look at Canada and we see the problems that happen with its like universal healthcare, and then we say that ours is better. Right. But then you can have a bunch of stories where it was better. And then that's reversed too. You can have all these, you have these horror stories where coming to America and just paying the money was a better deal than that. And it's like, have we ever considered that maybe it's just like not a finished product and that we could do better?
People just don't want to change, and that's their excuse.
Yep.
I'll be very frank. It's like people do not. It's like, of course, government just does not want to do this because they're getting paid too much shit, and then people buy it. Yeah. People buy it because they don't want to think.
They don't want to think. Well, their tribe said, my tribe told me to take off my pants and shit publicly, and by God, I'm going to do it.
And I really want to yell at those fucking kids for doing this thing that I don't like.
Yeah.
I don't
like it.
They're not even in my backyard. They're online in a specific thing. But if I really search for them and find them on the internet where I am as well and choose to look at them, I will see that I don't like it, and I don't like that they exist there. So
this is the fault.
And then once it's gone, I will never be on here ever again and go back to where I was again.
There's those damn Pokemans, okay? No, I agree. I agree with you. I'm in absolute agreement. It's what it really comes down to is strong emotional attachment to a few issues to which everything else will be sacrificed for. And those few issues are whatever thing that just makes them feel uncomfortable or makes them unhappy.
And they'll say like, oh, heaven shall shine on me and like life will be better. Nothing is going to change for them. It's the worst part. They will notice no difference in their lives.
Yeah.
And then they'll complain, we need to be harsher. That's the problem is we're not going deep enough. We're not just killing all these people.
You know what the thing is? I said this, I think last recording, but it might have been before that. I got in an argument with a boomer before about gender shit, right? And they asked me like, they said we can't even agree on what a woman is. And I said, do you think that our generation thinks that like a transgendered woman has a uterus and a vagina and can get pregnant? And they said yes. And in my head, and I was like, that's wrong. We all actually understand what it actually, like we're under an understanding of what all these things really are. It's just we've all just agreed to just kind of like not be an asshole about it. Mm-hmm. And I thought in my head as we were arguing, I was like, we're having this argument and in like 20 years, you're all going to be dead and the issue's going to go away. Because you're the one making this a huge issue.
Yeah, they're gonna die, and it's gonna go away, and then we're just gonna have to deal with undoing all the nonsense that they put into power. Because here's the thing: in the end, they're going to lose.
Sure. Well, time marches on. This has been true throughout history. Look at culture. Culture never regresses. It builds on itself. I guess you got the Dark Ages.
Yeah. Well, Donald Trump is...
Dark Age 2. Start stockpiling. We'll be the kings of the Dark Ages.
Yeah.
I'm ready for Dark Ages 2.
If Donald Trump doesn't die by another Republican shooter sometime soon, and apparently God has saved him or whatever, eventually he's going to die of something, I don't know, maybe too much suntan.
Did you think it was... What did you think of Jesus blocking that bullet directly into the chest of a firefighter? Very Christian. A devout Christian, by the way. God said, all right, young father firefighter, who deserves this more? Adulterer president, convicted felon, or young father firefighter?
You know what? I think it's the opposite. I think Jesus saved him from having to live through this fucking bullshit.
Oh my god! Man, I feel wild right now. It's like your character has completely changed. I was always the extremist. Everyone was mad at me in the Joe Rogan video, and they thought you were a cool dude. Now I'm sitting here going, oh man, this is a bit more. This isn't as moderate as I'm used to.
It's like, I'm sorry. Let me
No, it's
hold
great.
on. Let me take off so I'm less.
Well, yeah, you gotta take off the glasses. You gotta be the less cooler, the less educated, I guess, because you're wearing like reading glasses, so it's like the less cooler.
These aren't actually reading glasses. These are just everyday glasses.
Whatever. They're not sunglasses was my point. Yeah. So it's like the less academic. You got to become the less academic Mansor.
Yeah.
Right now you're the academic Mansor. Your emotions don't match. Come on. No, I really do think that when you look at all of these things that Trump did, all these executive orders, all of these pardons, and all of the people who are coping, because that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's my tribe, play it down. Your tribe, play it up. Doesn't matter. Make up my values. Christianity is whatever I make it up to be. So some Christian said, don't commit the sin of empathy. Bro, empathy is what? What? Please go read your own holy book, please.
That's like I was like, are you sure you do not worship the devil?
Are you sure you're on the right side of this?
I think we're talking about a different religion here, friend. I'm not sure we're talking about the same thing.
but like this is what it is. It's this extreme just denial. We accept it all, and we're not going to question it. And here's the thing. I said this before. Slowly but surely, more and more people are going to suffer for their own decision. They decided, I love this, I love Trump, and I'm going to downplay everything. And then when the shit hits the fan and they're the ones suffering, some of them are going to keep coping, but some of them aren't. And I said this before. I predict
this happened in COVID.
Right, but 2 years. At the next Senate and congressional election cycle, I think it's going to switch back. And I think we're going to see some interesting stuff happen. Now, I don't know if it's going to be good because there is listen, I'm just saying there's a very possibility. When I say I don't think civil war, right? But I think what's going to happen is a split of values. I'm making a prediction, and you can call me crazy, but hear me out real quick. So I think what's going to happen is you've got these states that are heavily conservative, that are run heavily by conservatives. Mm-hmm. You've got these very progressive states heavily run by progressives, and you have a varying mix in between, right? Yeah. Like our state, for example, is very like, it flip-flops a lot, but the vast majority of the population is blue. But it flip-flops a lot because a lot of the districts in the rural areas with like 4 or 5 people in them are red, right? The high population centers are blue. So the thing that's going to happen is that I think what we're going to find is a devaluing of the federal government. I think the Fed isn't going to go away, but I think that the Fed is going to lose a lot of power because people are going to go, I really don't want the president to be able to dictate what I do locally. And I think states I think it's going to end up being a little more like Europe, where states act more like individual countries, which they're kind of supposed to be anyway.
They were originally, yeah.
Right. And I think state legislators, governors, I think, state senate, state houses, those are going to gain a lot more power. State law is going to start being more powerful than federal law when it comes to things. And so what you're going to have is you're going to have states that suck, where like you can't even leave without getting a pregnancy test. Like they're going to have to grope your pussy before you're allowed to leave. And then you're going to have states where it's a little too extreme. There's no guns allowed, like I would listen. I might be more progressive than I am conservative, but California is too much for me, and you're going to have all kinds of different things in between. And I think what's going to happen is people are going to migrate to the states that more align with their sort of worldview and the lifestyle that they want. I think in 2 years, we're going to start seeing that happening. I could be wrong, but I really do think over my lifetime, it's going to progress more and more. And I think we're going to see a big upheaval in 2 years, at least at the government level.
And here's the thing. I know things are going to become better. My frustration is it's going to take so much fucking time.
Yeah.
It's going to take so much time. And I'm hoping when Democrats get more power, they can get off their fucking asses and actually do
What we need is more parties and a ranked choice voting system.
We need more Senator Bernie Sanders.
Yeah. Well, I think that this two-party system doesn't work. Yeah, I think that the Democrats are shit. I don't want to vote for them anymore.
Yeah, I want more party.
I don't want to vote for a party I don't like just because I hate the other party more.
Yes.
And everyone said this for a long time, but I think it's time. It is time for ranked choice voting, and it is time for other parties. Because the only reason third parties don't work is because we don't have ranked choice voting. In countries where there's ranked choice voting, other parties are able to come into power.
Yes. And... yeah, the greatest reason, I don't know, I'm going to reiterate this, I'm frustrated with all of this stuff, is it's all going to go away. It's like, this is just going to be a small blip in history.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you read the history books on America, it's been all kinds of crazy shit, but it only lasts a few years.
Some, history student, the future's gonna be
what a crazy time. Look at that shit. Woo, Richard Nixon. What a weirdo.
Is this real? I don't think Trump actually said these words. I don't think a human being really talks like this, I think that all
What's
the time.
a kamabla?
Yeah. And
Obama.
And I am going to live most of my life with us undoing this shit and with healthcare still being garbage.
Yeah.
And hopefully I will live to see it undone. But as America has shown, we love to be very fucking slow about this stuff.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. And I'm interested. I mean, I'm always interested in my own predictions. I got China right. I got Russia right. I got post-COVID right. So I'm interested to see if I'm right about what's going to happen. But I do think it's going to be interesting. And I think in 2 years, we're going to see a shift. Now, I'm not saying that everything I said would happen is going to happen in 2 years, but I think that's going to kind of be like a flashpoint where a bunch of stuff is going to happen. There's going to be a bunch of hullabaloo, and then we're going to start seeing progression towards something new. But I don't know exactly what that'll look like, only that I think this is going to be the end result, and I think it's going to start in 2 years. So we'll see. But you're right in that it's going to be slow because that's what Americans love.
With medical advancements, we're getting, I think, older and older as the decades go by. I'll be interested to see how much shit I see throughout my lifetime, how much stuff you see throughout your lifetime. Maybe in 50 years, if we are still alive, we can make Trump or dump.
Trump or dump. Maybe. I will say this. We are going to run towards a demographic crisis because we have too many old people and not enough young people. And people make up a lot of reasons for it. But the number one cited reason for young people is I don't own a home and don't have the means to, so I don't want to have children.
Yeah, I don't want to have children because I am nowhere close to
Like some people say, they'll say, well, a lot of people cite wanting to have freedom. And I go, yes, but the vast majority, this is going to be crazy. I know a lot of young people who are of age to have children. I know them because they're all around me in my age group. And while a few of them say, I don't want children because I don't want them, the vast majority say, I don't want them because this is not an environment that I want to raise children in. They want to have kids, they want to get married, but the dating environment is terrible. The work environment is terrible. They can't own a home. They at minimum have to live. Many people I know are still living with their parents, not because they couldn't afford to live on their own, but because if they took that money and just put it into rent, it's pointless. They might as well just put it in a savings account instead, right? They can be debt free, or they can have debt and still not own a home, because nobody can buy a home because a one bedroom box is $1 billion. That's an exaggeration, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, in our area, you can't buy a single family home for less than $700,000 unless it's like a total crap piece of shit. And then you have to compete against BlackRock.
Yeah, and people, of course, can't afford this because we've gotten 1% raises and how much inflation?
Yeah, and then people defend that. They sit there and they say, well, they have a right to sit there. It's the supply and demand. Yeah, well, you know what? I'll say the same thing I've said many times on the show. The invisible hand of the free market is a great guy. Firm grip, not real.
You'll find that if people can't afford something, they won't be able to buy it. So it's, I know.
It's crazy. If they can't afford it, they won't buy it. I know, it's nuts.
Yeah, I know, very complicated for our viewers.
It's complicated for me. My brain is very small.
Yeah,
to compensate for my huge sex organ.
I see some smoking.
Yeah, coming out. Well, it's to compensate for my huge sex organ.
Yeah.
Right. That Trump helped identify. All right. Well, do you feel that I know we kind of went on a tangent very early on compared to your original topic that you facilitated.
Yeah.
Do you feel we talked about everything you wanted to talk about?
Well, we talked about everything, and I feel like we talked about kind of the onus of what I was seeing throughout. Because I'll be honest, I knew Donald Trump was going to do stupid shit. I think the onus was that this stupid shit is going to affect us for longer than I feel like it should.
Yeah. Well, let's just hope that our true president, Elon Musk, doesn't send the death squad to our house. Either way, thank you everyone who made it to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment below if you made it to the end. Remember, when you make it to the end, that means that you have the bigger sex organ than people who closed the video early. And Mansor?
It's happy to see you. You have the secret gender now. We have given it to you.
A secret third option.
Yeah, we've been in contact with Donald Trump this whole time. Russia has been
funding us.
Russia has promised to fund us.
The promise of an idea.
Yeah, the promise of an idea that he may fund us.
Right.
And we still haven't seen it, but we're really looking forward to it.
To the money and the secret third option.
Yeah. Right. And the secret third gender that Donald Trump will bring in.
It's real.
Congratulations for unlocking it, and
we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time.
All right, bye.
Bye.